And we're back. We are here for episode 11 of Amazing Authors, and I can't wait to introduce you all to the amazing author du jour on this beautiful, beautiful April day. So, back Lee, thank you for coming back, you guys. I know it's a teaser. We're trying to get you guys all ready to get excited about this interview. And I'm telling you, I've read her books. I'm excited. I can't wait to introduce her to you. And without further ado, I'm inviting her on. Anyone who does an IG Live in the future know that you can only do an IG Live off your phone. And here we have Valerie. I love it. It's always better when you have to wait for the good things in life. And I will definitely say this is going to be an awesome, awesome boost to anyone's day today, especially anyone who wants some mystique around the authors and their stories and their journeys. And Valerie certainly will not disappoint. I've known her now for over more than a year. And I can't tell you what a pleasure it has been to get to know her and her books, of course. But because I love authors and I am a big fan of the creative world. Hey, Leslie. Hey, everybody. And Stephanie. Suzanne. Anyway, I love to know the story behind the story. So without further ado, we have Tammy here. Everybody's here supporting you and all the wonderful things that you do. And like I said, without further ado, welcome everyone to Amazing Authors episode 11. An Empty Room is a story waiting to happen, and you are, of course, the author in every respect. You have the pen in your hand, and you're ready to write new amazing chapters for your life. This is the room where we get to create magic together, Valerie, and we get to inspire others to step forward on this path where their dreams are certain to come true as long as they stick one foot in front of the other and never give up, which we know is the secret sauce for sure. Today's story, like I said, is about our special guest, Valerie Taylor, author of What's Not Said and What's Not True. And I have her beautiful books, and these covers are amazing.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Book
Thank
1
you.
and 2. And we have a 3 coming to you soon in this wonderful trilogy, which I love trilogies. I just finished mine, so I love welcoming anyone who sat down and written 3 books is just something to be in awe. And they're saying great books. It's absolutely true. No. So it's great to bring you to this place to have this conversation today. Carolyn's here. Welcome everyone. This is around your novels and the path to get you to where you are now. It's time to celebrate your important work. And I want to tell everybody, this beautiful woman just took semi-finalist, and it's still going, in the Channeline Chanticleer book contest, the romance fiction. Anybody needs a hit of love in your life, pick up these books. I'm telling you, it's a great, great, great read. You're going to feel really good at the end, and you're going to thank me, which I always appreciate when people thank me. So without further ado, a little bit about Valerie. She is born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. She had a 30-year career in financial service industry, which is just bizarre because the stories that she writes are just so interesting. And every time I think of financial service industry, I'm like, vacant look. So anyway, this is the cool thing about people who are all around you as marketers, as writers, as everything. The creativity in them is going to come true, and they're the ones who are bold enough to do that. So after her divorce, she spread her wings and relocated her career first to Boston, which I love, and then to Seattle. Wow. And when she retired, she resettled in Shelton, Connecticut to be near her 2 grown children and her beautiful granddaughter. She's a published book reviewer with booktrib.com, another welcome and wonderful addendum to her resume. And she's also a member of the Westport Writers Workshop, the Independent Book Publishers Association, and a Women's Fiction Writers Association. I love this about you. You practice Tai Chi, and you're an expert sports spectator. I didn't know that was possible, but I love that. We're going to get into that for sure. What's Not Said was her debut in 2020. Not an easy time to publish her first book, might I add. And What's Not True was published in 2021. The next book, like I said, in this trilogy is in the works, and we are so lucky to have you today. Valerie, everyone's going crazy. Amazing. What a writer. Good afternoon, everybody. Another one of my favorites. She Writes Press authors, sisters. I'm honored to have you join me today.
Oh.
Tell
Thank
me.
you. Thank you so much, Meg, for having me. So I'm doing this on my phone, obviously, now, and I've never done it on my phone. So they've done anything on my phone, really.
The
I barely know
phone,
how to turn it on. So
you
anyway,
know,
but I
I have
don't
to say,
know if you could see. I'm going to turn this down. I have a shirt
no,
on that
actually
has
put it back where it was.
butterflies.
Put it back where it
Put it
was,
back.
because it was
Okay.
perfect where it was. Yes. And let me tell you, the phone is a beautiful thing because there's so many wonderful things we can do on the fly. And certainly advertising and promoting writers like you on IG Live is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity that you can use. And anyone who's out there, like I said, all you can do is click invite, welcome to the invite on the phone, and here we go. So you
Go.
look
Yeah.
beautiful.
So,
I can't
thank
wait to
you.
get to
So,
the story. So let me ask you something. And before I even go into the summaries of your books, like, why did you decide to write a trilogy, a series? Was it at
oh.
that, or did it come to you?
So that is a story in and of itself. And can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Give her some love, everybody, that you can hear her, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because you don't want to miss this. Go ahead.
So when I decided to write, my goal was to write one book. You know, I think many of us have that in us, and it's like, you know, I'm going to write one book and that's it. And so after I had written it and I had given it to several of, you know, kind of my beta readers, each person came back to me and said, well, what happens next?
Ah, I
And
love it.
I was like, you've got to be kidding. I mean, I didn't intentionally write the ending as a cliffhanger, but it was. And so I literally sat down and took one sheet of paper and kind of bulleted out how the story could progress. Was there enough story to go forward? And I surprised myself, but this is what writers do. We keep asking the what if questions, right?
Yeah.
What if this happens? What if that happens? And so suddenly I had a second book and then the third. But what I realized in writing the first book, because I didn't intend it to be a series or a trilogy, I didn't like keep notes about what was happening or how, you know, the threads that could be continued. So I was doing the second book, I had to keep going back to the first book and saying, okay, what did I say about this? What does she look like? What, you know, what does he sound like? You know, where were they when they were in Italy? And but then when I was writing the second book, because I had learned and I knew I would go on to the third, I purposely put in the cliffhanger, which I didn't know what the cliffhanger was going to be till I was halfway through the second book.
Oh, wow.
So this is a funny story too. When I wrote What's Not Said, I knew the ending.
Okay.
When I wrote What's Not True, I knew the middle. And when I wrote What's Not Lost, which is the third, I knew the beginning. And I didn't know the ending. And the ending, actually, of What's Not Lost, the third book, was suggested to me by a woman in Seattle who was on a book club discussion of both of my books. And she loved them so much. She said, you have to do this. And I was in the middle of writing. And so I was like, well, you know, I was kind of leaning towards that a little bit, but she was so enthusiastic about it that I really took her idea and expanded it and fleshed that out.
I love
So
it.
you never know where the ideas are going to come from.
You know, it's kind of like when you're co-creating with the universe, and if you have any questions, and I really love that, because really all of life is a collaboration. So in the end, we never really do anything alone. And I'll never be the one to take any full credit for my work on my own 2 feet. I always acknowledge those that surround me. And I love that you just said that, you know, they fell in love with your characters, and they inserted perhaps an idea that you kind of ran with. And
Exactly.
that's where the magic happens, I add. And I'm going to go ahead and read the summary of the first one, so that we can wet their whistle as to the rest. I'm not even going to read the summary of the second or the third. They're going to have to grab them because the real story is Valerie. So I'm just going to give you a little blip into the world. And I will say this, I love this. Kirkus Review says, Taylor's dialogue is snappy and contemporary, a witty and often amusing family drama. Now, these days, I think we could all benefit from witty and often amusing, something to have, humor around, so we won't be taking our lives so seriously. And as Oliver Wilde did say, life is way too important to be taken seriously, so we need to grab on to those magical creators to help us through. So here you go. Cassie O'Callahan, which I love the last name, by the way, had meticulous plans to divorce her emotionally abusive husband, Mike, and move in with Chris, a younger man she met 5 years ago and on a solo vacation in Venice. Okay, right there, people. This lady is going to go from stagnant to hot and bothered in 2 seconds, but it's disrupted when she finds out Mike has chronic kidney disease. Womp, womp, womp. I love this. Something he's concealed from her for years. Once again, she postpones her path to freedom, at least until she pokes around his pajama drawer and discovers his illness is the least of his disease. Okay, love it. It's kind of like, I'm free finally, and yet then, oh my loving God, what is going on? But Cassie's no angel either, as she struggles to justify her own indiscretions. The secret life she and Mike have led collide head on, revealing a tangled web of sex lies and DNA. I mean, that in and of itself would draw any person into the mix, because literally we like to see other people going through something worse than we go through ourselves, just to say, okay, it's not so bad after all, right? Still mindful of her vows, Cassie commits to helping her husband find an organ donor. In the process, she uncovers a life-changing secret. Problem is, if she reveals it, her own immorality will be exposed, which means she has an impossible decision to make. Whose life will she save? Who's her husband's or her own? Okay, so I gotta say this. Valerie, does life imitate art?
Oh, they do say that your first book is autobiographical, right?
Okay.
So there are, especially in the first book, there are scenes or passages or a little dialogue that mirror my life. For example, there's mention of her father's death and her stepfather, and that I don't go into that too much, but that mirrors my life somewhat. And then she has a mother who kind of puts her nose in where it shouldn't be, and that was kind of true. And I can say all this because everybody's dead, so nobody cares. But
they're not coming for you.
But I did, when I went to Venice, first time or either time that I've been there, I didn't meet a younger man, so that's really wishful thinking, I think. So
it could be a visualization. You never know.
That's right. You never know. So
well, I love that you bring them to Venice. It's obviously, being an Italian myself, that is absolutely one of the most romantic cities. Unfortunately, it smells a bit, but it is one of the romantic cities that is filled with so much lore and stories told from before. So the fact that you brought them there, why was it Venice? Is that something that you were always drawn to?
Yes. So for whatever reason, it was the one place at the top of my bucket list, if you will, right? And so when I was getting ready to retire, I was still living in Seattle, but I was moving back east. I decided that I would do a trip to Italy as my gift to myself, my retirement gift. And so I went to Rome and Tuscany and then Venice. And, Venice is just, when I go to Italy, I just feel such kind of relief, and it's like it's me. I mean, when I was in Tuscany and I see those weird trees and everything, I mean, it's like I've been there before. And Venice was, I was a little like concerned. I didn't know if the canals would swell and, you know, I get swept off into the canal or something. I don't know, weird. But I travel alone a lot, not recently, of course, but, you know, I went there alone, and I just find that I get to talk to more people when I travel alone. I've traveled with my daughter to Paris, and it wasn't the same experience because I'm talking to her and I'm not talking to the people around me. So,
you know, it's interesting that you point that out, because in Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, she has everyone going on their artist date once a week during the 12-week process. And the whole point is that you actually step outside your comfort zone and meet others along the path, and not stay in this safe, secure, not that it's bad to go out with your family on vacation. That's not,
right.
But it also opens you up. And that's what she's saying. Carolyn's saying traveling alone has such riches. And also, by the way, just so you know, the group out here is wishful thinking you, envisioning you into perhaps this liaison the next time you hit Italy. So just so you know, it is definitely on the universal, wish list out there for sure.
Yeah.
What are the other things I wanted to ask you about? You know, certainly this journey. What keeps you going? I you know, a lot of people, you're writing 3. You're not writing 1. You know, it was like what you were saying initially. Like, it's after having a baby. People are like, so what's next? When's your next one? It's like, no. I gotta enjoy this one. You know.
Well, I think those of us that have written one book, and there are people that I see here that have written their first book, I think it becomes an addiction. And so it's like, you know, I've got to, you know, whether it's a memoir or fictionalized, I think we all have stories to tell, and we get an idea. I mean, I see either things in the news or like an Outlander or you know, magazines, and I think, oh, that would be a really good story, and I have folders full of ideas and everything, and I think it's our addiction. We like it, feeds our soul.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful, because the reality is, if you're inputting ideas and keeps your brain going and your mind alive and your curiosity booming, that's a really good addiction to have. That feeds your soul, so it comes alive to bigger and better things than to deflate. And I want to say, I love that you said that. It is certainly the thing, and I love that you're saying that you're retired, but literally, I will say the hardest working in writing, the hardest working woman in writing, and not retired. This is no joke. This is hard work, and the bottom line is, but it's built on love. It's a love, and one of the things I do see in your writing, and you can feel it. You know, there's, you know, this staid kind of, I would imagine in like the finances and the financial world, it's like this very blah. And this is like, oh my God, there's so much going on, and it makes you want to live and experience. And I think that's the gift of a really good author. I tip my hat or my tiara to you. I do have my tiara today, so I tip it to you, my friend. There you go. But I want to ask you another question with regard to the whole process, you know, the takeaways, you know, from your first launch to your second launch, and what you're going to do on your third launch that is going to, you know, expand your horizons perhaps, because you've learned so much.
That's really a difficult one. What I learned, I mean, I learned a lot about writing, and with the first book, you know, as I was starting to promote it or whatever, and people would ask me what the themes were, right? And I didn't write to a theme, you know, I just wrote the story. And it wasn't until later, where I sat down one weekend and reread What's Not Said, that I realized that there was a theme. I mean, there's serious themes about emotional abuse and infidelity and, a dysfunctional marriage that had outlived its expiration date. But I wrote it kind of as a romantic comedy. And, and I'm thrilled that it's being recognized as such because, that's kind of me. I'm not this serious person. And I've been thinking about that recently because, I know when I write something funny and I literally laugh out loud as I'm writing and I'm thinking, is anybody else going to think this is funny? People that know me that read it, they know my voice. And so, they know it. But then, when I went to What's Not True and I'm writing and about halfway through the book, I fell in love with the story. And then, and again, there were funny passages and there's some scenes with a young gal that's named Cecilia after my granddaughter. And that makes me laugh. But the themes then for What's Not True kind of changed because of the plot of the story. Okay, so it's not necessarily about emotional abuse anymore. It's about how women have been battling for years to have it all, and yet ambition is still a dirty word. Okay, and then as I moved into What's Not Lost, everything kind of converges and collides. And suddenly Cassie, who's been taking care of everybody else in her life, suddenly puts on her big girl pants and decides she has to do what's right for her. So if you talk about, how things, what I learned or how the journey went, it's how the themes, if you will, grew among the three books. So.
I love it. And I just felt like this boost of empowerment as you're speaking, like ambition being a dirty word. I mean, if you told that to the other half of the population, they'll be like, what? What? You got to have ambition. You got to wake up in the morning and have purpose and have a reason to live. I mean, and you want to get paid your worth too. That couple, there's nothing dirty about that. Like literally you look around there and you're like, you're putting the time in, as Carolyn's saying, so rewarding to write, even rewarding to have your book published. But at the other end of the spectrum, you need to it's not even a need. It's a, living your life in such a way that your beautiful granddaughter is going to see you and basically want to emulate that in her own. So you're passing on this incredible legacy of literally, it's not over till you say it's over. So
that's right.
I find that amazing. I will more than most, I try to find for my life, I find women like that because it's a good reminder in those times when the naysayers and the doubters show up that no, look around you, look who you're involving yourself with, look who you show up with. You have a voice, use it. And that is literally what you're doing with your books. You're doing it in an entertaining way because you're authentically yourself. Clearly, you said your humor is something that you love most about yourself. And at the same time, you're bringing up some serious topics like emotional abuse. I mean, lying, credibility in relationships, how you show up in the world. And I love this. And I know everyone is just going to want to go jump out and buy your books because honestly, entertainment can have two sides. You can be entertained, but you can also learn something about yourself by reading another person, which is what I love about this show and amazing authors. So I really want to congratulate you for writing your story and never giving up on your dreams. So what is the one thing that you want everyone out there today to know about yourself so that they can this is really cool. And I want to share this with you because it's been something I've been saying to myself over and over. When they think of me, what do I want them to think? Right. And I'm always like, I hope people, when they see me, they think that they are amazing and their dreams can come true. Right. So when I think of Valerie and her books, and Louis saying edutainment, and it's true, edutainment, I absolutely agree. When we think of Valerie, what is it that you want us to think about regarding you?
So I would say that I don't take life so seriously. I mean, I do. I mean, certainly with everything that's going on in the world, it's hard not to take that seriously. But because my childhood was so awful, and I watched a lot of comedy growing up. I think I just like to find something fun and humorous in life every day, and that I learn something every day. And look, I learned how to use Instagram Live. The phone.
Watch out, Instagram. Valerie's on it now. We're gonna see a lot more of her, I hope.
So it's I think you have to smile and be happy and just spread some joy around. So I think that that's the most wonderful thing.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody who is on this feed right now is definitely sending you tons of joy. So
I see that. Thank you.
What you give definitely comes back to you tenfold or even more. Tell everybody where they can get your wonderful book.
Okay. Well, I'm everywhere. So, certainly the normal places, Amazon, Bookshop, Barnes and Noble. And I am on I try to be on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but I also have a website, ValerieTaylorAuthor.com, and I started last year. What I'm starting to be very proud about is a little newsletter called Behind and Ahead, and instead of it just being about me, what I decided to do was to pick a country each time I do a newsletter, and I do a little research to find out some literary facts about the country. So,
Cool.
who are some famous authors? What are some bookstores to go to? What has been some literary history that's unique about the country? And I've done Portugal, and I just did Ukraine. And
wow.
So it's I think I did Italy first, but of course, but I've done, like 4 different countries already, and and I'm learning,
Yeah.
so it's really kind of interesting. I think.
Well, one of the greatest things that any author can offer is content that would edutain, as Louis said. Thank you, Louis. I love that. And also that whatever you bring, you're encouraging others to maybe get a little bit more creative, a little bit tap into their genius, And certainly Carolyn's saying, you are very encouraging to other women writers as well, and a positive energy beyond. Everyone loves you, Valerie. I can tell
you're
you.
so sweet. Thank you.
Well, I do believe, though, that because that is the case, that is your brand, that you are that people will want to read your books as well, because at least you're going to get a break, perhaps, mixed in with the seriousness a little, like, and it's interesting. I wanted to ask you, who's your favorite comedian growing up? Because you said you watched comedy, and I love that.
Yeah, Jack Benny.
Jack Benny.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Milton Berle and Red Skelton, of course, but I really remember Jack Benny, and I think maybe I'm kind of like him, where it's kind of this seriousness, and then there's that punchline, that kind of dry humor and kind of coming at life in a very different way. So I think that he probably inspired me. I should go back and watch some of his shows.
So you guys, she's welcoming. If you are in the world and love Jack Benny, or don't even know him, go check him out, and then you'll know you'll love Valerie, because if that is the case, we'll have Jack Benny still in this world trying to make us laugh, which at these times, these very interesting times we live. I say laughter sometimes is the best medicine. And, you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, certainly go find a good comedian to laugh at, because it does take the stress out of our lives and puts a shining bright light on ourselves.
Absolutely.
And like blossom that way. And, you know, I do think that, you know, I always say I love the Mrs. Maisel series right now. So I'm like, you know, I'm kind of addicted. I was like, I want to be funny. So of course, if you want to be funny, you read people who know funny. So
that's
there you go.
Right.
That's Valerie. So what is, like, I know that you told us, you know, where your books are now, and I love your newsletter. Where do we sign up for your newsletter?
Through the website. So Valerie, what is it? Valerie Taylor author.com/subscribe.
Okay, so that's VALERIE
Taylor
TAYLOR author AUTHOR
.com /subscribe.
Okay, so that's .com /subscribe. So go check it out. I certainly know I'm going to. And just to leave everybody on a really emotional high today, look, Antenna TV runs the Jack Benny Show. Awesome. Louie's giving us some wonderful tidbits. Thank you, Louie. Oh, and also, you know, I'm telling you, I'm going to have to get you on Louie's show too, because the two of you make me laugh. And I happen to just love him. He is just, and I love everyone on this show who's been like giving their wonderful comments too. Thank you for supporting Valerie. Thank you for supporting this amazing author. You know, I can tell you dreams come true, but it's definitely much better for dreams to come true surrounded by all of you. So one more thing I want to say: books change lives. Great writing stirs the emotion, makes us feel, and those authors who are vulnerable to the extent of truly sharing their mind, sharing their soul, sharing their genius, are the ones who are changing the world, keep making a difference with their words and getting us to think. So what is the thing that you want your books to make us feel?
Happy. That's
done. There you go. We all need a boost of happiness. Isn't that the whole point of life, is to figure out our bliss, our happiness, our joy? So if you want happy today, take this amazing author's books, go to the beach, go to the park, go to the zoo, go wherever the heck you want to go. Maybe go in your closet and don't let anyone bother you for an hour or two, and get your happy. Valerie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Meg.
Delightful. You are delightful. Your books are delightful. Everybody, we got What's Not True. We've got What's Not Said, and be on top of you know, social media, because you're going to see it's What's Not
Lost.
No, I'm sorry, What's Not Lost. Oh my God, maybe there's a What's Not Told in the future after Lost. I don't know, but you're wonderful. Have a wonderful, happy day, everybody. Thank you so much, Valerie. Sending my love to all of you. Until our next amazing author interview, have a wonderful, wonderful day, life, month, year, everything. Wishing you all bliss.
Thank you. Bye-bye.